Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of my F1 24 driver career mode with myself driving for Sauber in our rookie season. If you did miss the last episode around Hungary, it was a Max Verstappen 61st career victory in Formula 1 with Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc making it 3 different constructors on the podium, which is something that you don't generally see anymore in Formula 1. Myself in the end getting P11. We just really struggled for pace. I was very lucky with qualifying to get myself into Q3 to start with, and unfortunately just could not get myself into the points. Well, I got myself into the points, just wasn't able to maintain it. The pace was nowhere near there, so we're going to put Hungary behind us. It was very disappointing, and we're going to go straight into focusing on Belgium, which is coming up now. And we will be repurchasing the durability control electronics material improvement upgrade. So yeah, so we're going to get that one before the Dutch Grand Prix, so it's not going to quite come in for this race, but for the next Dutch Grand Prix it will. We're going to also look in the power unit, so we're going to get a rotor speed upgrade. Standard development will bring it in before the Italian Grand Prix, but if we decide to rush it, we're going to get it in before the Dutch Grand Prix, and because of the fail rate of rushing it is actually quite low, we will rush it and try and get this car upgraded before the Dutch Grand Prix, and this will solidify its status as the best power unit. We're going to have a look at our specialists now. So it's manufacturing expert first. Keep the tyres below a certain temperature. Wind tunnel engineer, 281 kilometers per hour target speed, and hold it for 30 seconds. Power unit consultant, finished better than our teammates in qualifying. Material fabrication planner, 12 laps during the race weekend to be driven. And taking a look now at the upgrades that we're going to be bringing with us to Belgium. None. Absolutely none. We had one upgrade on the cards to try and come in, and unfortunately that failed, so we're not going to be getting our upgrade this weekend, but hopefully we can repurchase it at the end of the weekend and get that going. And taking a look now at the bigger picture, McLaren continue to close the gap to Red Bull. Not quite overpassing Red Bull yet, but they've closed the gap again. Mercedes and Aston Martin bridged the gap to Ferrari, and a very large gap still remains between RB, and followed very closely behind is Sauber, Williams and Haas. No longer the slowest car is Haas, as they pass Alpine, and now Alpine is expected to be quite far below as we now go straight into qualifying.
High-speed straights, heady elevation changes and dramatic corners. What is there not to love about today? It's qualifying day here at Spa-Francorchamps.
And for this qualifying session, all I can hope for is that it goes much better than how the last race weekend went for ourselves, as we jump straight to the end of our first flying lap here in qualifying. And it is going to be a pretty good exit out of the bus stop chicane. And then it's actually going to put us P1. I was not expecting to be having this much pace as we now jump to the timings, as that was our only fast lap in the session. Max Verstappen fastest by only a tenth to Carlos Sainz, then Piastri P3, 2/10 back. Myself P9, half a second. Bottas P13, he makes it into Q2 and knocked out in a qualifying one. Nico Hulkenberg, Daniel Ricciardo, Logan Sargent, and the 2 Alpines do not make it into this next part of the session, as we now jump to the next part of qualifying, and it is our first flying lap in the second part, and we go P2, 4.5 tenths back from Oscar Piastri, and we go for another lap here in qualifying 2. This time a much better through the bus stop chicane. You can see that we gained nearly 3/10 of a second just going through that final part there. And that is going to put us P5 with a purple final sector as well. And jumping to the timings now, it's going to be Max Verstappen fastest again by 900 of a second. Charles Leclerc P3, a tenth back. Myself P6, I'm 3.5 tenths back, and knocked out in qualifying 2. Lance Stroll, Yuki Tsunoda, Valtteri Bottas, George Russell, and Kevin Magnussen not making it to this final part of qualifying. And you can see here, we've had a very good slipstream from Carlos Sainz all the way around the circuit here. So a very good slipstream, and let's see where this is going to be able to put us as we come to the line. And it's going to put us P4, of course, ahead of Carlos Sainz, as he was towing us the entire way. And I just could not improve on my second lap. I did go out for another lap, and I was down by about 2/10 of a second without that slipstream. So in the end, that one lap was the one that I needed, and Charles Leclerc is going to be on pole position by 300 over to Lando Norris. Very tight margins. Max Verstappen P3 and myself on the second row of the grid as we head to the Grand Prix.
Welcome to this visit to the Ardennes countryside. Spa-Francorchamps hosted its first Grand Prix back in 1925, and this is historic track is loved by drivers and fans alike, and us here in the commentary box too. So it's a warm welcome from the Belgian Grand Prix. Spa-Francorchamps today, a circuit that spans 4.35 miles. There are tons of elevation changes along the way too. 19 corners making up this circuit, with 9 of those to the right and the remaining 10 to the left. This track's a great one for fans of pure speed, and the average lap speed comes close to a whopping 145 miles per hour. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Lightning, Sainz, Perez, Oscar Piastri, Albon, Fernando Alonso, Tsunoda, Bottas, Russell, Magnussen, Hamilton, Hulkenberg, Ricciardo, Sargent, Gasly, Stroll, and Esteban Ocon lines up at the back of the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race.
Only a few places away from a points finish last race. We're hoping you can do it today.
And starting P4 this time, I definitely reckon it is going to be a much better shot at points this time around for our strategy. Mediums onto the hards as we are now ready for the Belgian Grand Prix. And we are lights out and we're away. And it is going to be actually a decent start. It's not as good as Carlos Sainz's though. Jeez, where did he come from? That very much caught me off surprise. We send it around the outside at turn 1, and we're currently 3 wide, 2 wide, and we cut off the nose of Carlos Sainz, who has made an absolute ripper of a start, as up ahead Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc continue to go side by side up through Eau Rouge, Raidillon, and now down the straight. They're going to be going side by side. They still go side by side. We're getting the slipstream from the both of them, trying to figure out where we want to go. Carlos Sainz is trying to send it down the inside. And we managed to defend well from him, but now we're trying to set it up to see if we can't get ourselves ahead of Charles Leclerc and take advantage of their compromised exit after going side by side. Unfortunately, it is not going to work out the way that we really wanted to, as Carlos Sainz sits behind us, the 2 McLarens, Sergio Perez. Alex Albon is up inside the top 10, and so is Yuki Tsunoda. He has made it into the top 10 as jumping to lap 3 now. Sergio Perez makes a very crucial mistake into the first corner, which is going to ruin his run. There's contact as well, as he's trying to stop Alex Albon from going through. Alex Albon does go through, but Sergio Perez will not let this go easy. They continue to go side by side up the hill, and now down the straight. Is either one of them going to be able to get DRS? Alex Albon is going to get DRS out of all of that, and Fernando Alonso looking to make it 3 wide. Sergio Perez now sits back behind the 2 of them. Alonso down the inside. He's going to have to make it work around the outside, which would give him the inside once again, and he's going to get the move done. 2 cars, 1 straight. Well done, Fernando Alonso, and that is up him to P7 now. Back on board with ourselves now, lap 4. Mark wants us to get by Charles Leclerc. He reckons Charles Leclerc is holding us up, and Max Verstappen, you can see that he's built a 2.5 second lead on those soft tyres. He is absolutely bolting, whereas myself and Charles Leclerc are trying to make these mediums last a little bit longer, and only the next lap I'm now trying to get ourselves past Charles Leclerc. And now we can continue our focus to try and chase down Max Verstappen. You see the gap now down to 1.5 seconds, so he's lost a little bit of time as maybe the tyres now start to wear away from him, as Yuki Tsunoda also completes a move to get himself past Sergio Perez. So Sergio Perez, after that little bit of contact, may be running a bit of damage, as now our teammate Valtteri Bottas is also getting himself past the Mexican driver there, and that is our teammate now inside the points, a double Sauber points at the moment, and hopefully it can stay this way for the rest of the Grand Prix. And look at this for a battle pack further down the field. You've got Stroll leading the bottom few cars here, and it looks like, is that Hulkenberg slowing down? I reckon Hulkenberg's slowing down. He is. Nico Hulkenberg seems to be having an issue there. Is it terminal or is it a puncture? We'll have to wait and find out. It looks like it is going to be terminal. There is no signs of any sort of puncture there and no smoke coming out the car. So some sort of mechanical issue there for Nico Hulkenberg as he pulls it off to the side of the track to come to a complete stop. And that is his day done here in Belgium. As continue back with ourselves here, Charles Leclerc gets himself back past us once again. Not much we can do with that. We were quite low on ERS, and I don't want to deplete our ERS. And also, he had a lot of DRS. That's a very long straight full of DRS for him to get himself by us. And going on to the next lap now, Mark can see the issues that we're running into here, where we can't really get too far up, about 60% ERS. So he wants us to charge up our ERS to 70. So I'm going to flick it down to none through this section to see if this is actually going to really help, because I find that sometimes it doesn't really help too much. And sure enough, I've gained an extra 10% ERS just by doing that. So we're going to continue doing that throughout the race and try and chase down Max Verstappen here. You can see Charles Leclerc now within DRS, and we have very well caught up to him. We have a bit of a moment there as we now come into the pit lane to complete our hopefully one and only stop, depending how the race unfolds here. We'll get it nice and slowed down there, and look at that. The top 4 people actually have now come into the lane. Myself and one of the McLarens are still traveling down the pit lane. Max Verstappen looks like he has gone onto the medium compound tyre, so he's going for a slightly different strategy there. And Charles Leclerc also onto the hard tyres. And can we get out in front of him? No, we're just behind him. So we're going to have to make sure that we optimise these hard tyres. We make a little bit of contact there, actually, going out of the pit lane there. So very close margins between myself and Charles Leclerc. And it looks like Max Verstappen has managed to get just in front of Lance Stroll there. This is going to be crucial if he can stay ahead here. But it looks like Stroll may have just been able to get behind him before the DRS zone. And it looks like that's going to be the way. Stroll coming back at Max Verstappen. Verstappen's going to be absolutely hating this, as he's now going to have the fresher tyres through this middle part of the circuit. And Stroll's going to be on the really worn out soft compound tyres. And you can see there, Max Verstappen losing a bunch of time. The gap is already drastically coming down, less than a second now between himself and Charles Leclerc. So I reckon before the end of the lap's done, we're going to be a top 3 battle once again for the top 3 positions in this race. And before you know it, we're coming up to the boss stop chicane, and it is going to be Charles Leclerc sending it down the inside of Max Verstappen. Stroll's going to peel off into the pit lane. We're going to try and set ourselves up here for a very good exit, to see if we can't catalyze off any misfortune between these two drivers, as the rest of them now come through the pit lane. So that is now going to put us back into the lead positions of the Grand Prix. Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, a little bit of contact there going through turn 1, and now this is the run down to Eau Rouge, and it is going to be Charles Leclerc that's going to tuck in behind, so he's going to be able to get the DRS. And you can see that we have a very good run going up the hill there through the S, and we just unfortunately don't really have the straight line speed at the moment to fully capitalize. But as the slipstream does take effect, we're going to pull out and try and make it 3 wide, but we think better of it. Charles Leclerc, though, he's going to continue sending it, and he's going to take the lead of the Grand Prix. We're going to stay stationary in P3 and just wait for our moment. But Max Verstappen is on those fresher compound tyres, so it is going to be very difficult to try and keep him at bay, knowing that it's going to be medium tyres versus hard tyres. And he did really well in that first stint to make those soft tyres last as long as we did with the mediums. So it looks like that Red Bull's very kind of its tyres, as he does make the move back into the lead. So what we need to do now is try and make sure that we can stay with him and stay in that DRS of him. Even if we're not battling him, just stay within the DRS. So then hopefully when those mediums do start wearing out towards the end of the Grand Prix, we can be there to capitalise. And we're going to do a bit of an order check here. So it's Lando Norris sitting P4, Carlos Sainz, Oscar Piastri. And then it's Fernando Alonso, who's done really well to get himself up into P7, and Alex Albon as well, P8. Yuki Tsunoda's down in P9. Sergio Perez, I don't understand what's happened to him. He's found himself down in P10. The 2 Mercedes outside of the points as well, so some names are not where they should really be. And our teammate Valtteri Bottas, unfortunately after the pit stop sequence, has fallen outside of the points into P13, P14 for Stroll, Logan Sargent, Daniel Ricciardo, then the 2 Alpines battling it out in P17, P18, and Kevin Magnussen, the last car on the road after his teammate retired from the Grand Prix early. As now we're catching up to Charles Leclerc. Max Verstappen is absolutely bolted. He's already broken that DRS, and we're going to just about keep it within the track limits there, and going around the outside of Charles Leclerc, and that is going to be us up into P2 as Alex Albon completes the pass on Fernando Alonso to get himself now up into P7 as they swap positions back on board with ourselves now. We use the DRS to get by, and now Charles Leclerc's going to use the DRS to get by. We try and give him the squeeze to the inside to compromise his line, but Charles Leclerc is a bit too good for myself at the moment, and he is going to be able to maintain that position as now Mark. Our next objective, we're going to be trying to drain the ERS. We did all that effort to save up our ERS, and you can see that we've got quite a bit, 75%, and now we're going to be absolutely dumping it onto the next lap, and we're going to drop all of that ERS down to 20%, get a purple first sector, and round the outside of Charles Leclerc, within the swift one motion, and that is going to be us now back up into P2, and hopefully with the pace that we've currently got, we can try and drop Charles Leclerc from our DRS and try and purely focus on trying to catch up to Max Verstappen and see if we can't get our first career victory, as Sergio Perez is trying to hold off George Russell from falling outside of the points. George Russell is going to continue trying to go around the outside of Sergio Perez, which will give him the inside line here, and it looks like George Russell is going to get the move completed and put himself now up into the points. Sergio Perez bumped outside of the points, which is very disappointing considering he's in that current grid best Red Bull racing car, and for ourselves we had a pretty bad exit there, but it was still good enough to get ourselves the fastest lap of the race so far. So very good promising pace from ourselves at the moment as we continue to try and chase down Max Verstappen, but it's not looking too good as he's actually just been extending his lead out from us, as now Oscar Piastri is looking to get himself past Carlos Sainz, who's lost touch there with Lando Norris. So I wonder if maybe he's picked up some damage from somewhere, or he's just generally struggling with the tyre wear, as the tyre wear has been a tad little bit more than expected so far this Grand Prix. Fernando Alonso now coming through the bus stop, and he's actually made a bit of an audacious move there. I didn't really think the move was on, but he's got himself now past Alex Albon. Or is there a little bit more to that story? So now we jump on board with Alex Albon, and yeah, a bit of a lockup going into the chicane there, and Fernando Alonso does not need to be asked twice to put his nose up the inside at a moment like that. And back on board with ourselves. It's lap 19, only 4 laps to go, and Charles Leclerc goes steaming past us, and we're going to try and make sure we can stay with him, even if he may have a bit of a better tyre advantage at the moment. I do not know what his tyre wear is like, but obviously it's not too bad if he's able to pull moves like that from myself, as we're just going to stay tucked up behind him and try and get him back onto the next lap. At the moment, it seems like we should be able to get the DRS on the final lap. We make a little bit of a mistake there, touch the gravel. You can see how much that halts up your progress. As Lando Norris, we very nearly make contact with him, sends it down the inside at Spoon, and that is going to be Norris now up onto the podium. So we've now got our work cut out for us if we want to get back to that P2 that we've been trying to chase down. And George Russell, while all of that was going on, George Russell's made another overtake. Now that should put him up into P9, but the move is not done quite yet. Yuki Tsunoda's not letting that one go easily, and he's going to have to send it around the outside, just as he did with Sergio Perez a few laps ago, but this will give him that inside corner. Once again, Yuki Tsunoda giving him the squeeze though. George Russell keeping his foot in it. Very well done, and that is going to be him now up into P9, back on board with ourselves. Are we able to try and chase down Lando Norris? Lando Norris is sliding all over the shot. He's lost the rear twice. Make that 3 times he's lost the rear. Can we capitalize on this and try and send it down the inside here? And we go for the outside in the end, but we can't really make it work here. So we have to sit behind him once again and wait for our next opportunity when that shall arise. I'm probably going to be down at that straight again with the power of DRS. And while all of that was happening, Fernando Alonso has made himself up another position there, getting himself past Carlos Sainz. So Sainz has dropped another position, and speaking of dropping another position, here he goes again, this time to Alex Albon, but he's not going to make this one too easy. Alex Albon, though, will get himself past, and that is going to be P7 for the Williams there. And George Russell, in a spot we haven't seen too much passing so far this race, is going to try and get this done down the back straight before the bus stop chicane to get himself past Carlos Sainz there. And they're doing really well to keep it side by side, but he's going to get the move done before they even reach the braking zone of the bus stop chicane. And that is George Russell now up into P8. And Carlos Sainz, with how close the rest of the field is to him, he's at risk of not even making the points at the moment, as his bad runs is going to continue here. Yuki Tsunoda's now looking to get himself past. He's going to jump around the outside, and he's going to, again, Carlos Sainz is actually not making this too easy for them, as he's now realizing that he's on the brink of losing the points, but that is now him in P10 with Lewis Hamilton sitting right behind him. But all eyes now turn to Max Verstappen as he rounds the final corner, and that is going to be victory here in Belgium. And on board with ourselves, we're going to go for the almighty cutback. Can we get ourselves onto the podium? It's a drag race to the line, and we just miss out to Lando Norris. We don't get the podium in the end, but it was a very good effort to try and get ourselves that podium, P4 in the end, so maintain position.
Flag is out. We're going to be hearing that Dutch national anthem again, because it's victory for Max Verstappen. Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently, and it's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be so proud of the victory they've secured here.
So that was a 60-second career victory for Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris are also back on the podium once again. We've had the same podium 2 races in a row now. We've just switched Leclerc and Norris around. Myself also we very narrowly missed that podium. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't too big of a margin, maybe about a tenth-ish. But yeah, it was a very silly mistake from myself to dip that wheel into the gravel, and that cost me that position to Lando Norris. As now we take a look at the rest of the top 10. Myself in P4, in the end, it was only 700ths of a second, so it was less than a tenth. And Oscar Piastri, Fernando Alonso, Alex Albon, George Russell, Yuki Tsunoda, and Carlos Sainz does round out the points in the end. Our teammate Valtteri recovers to P12. A little bit disappointing because before the pit stop sequence, he was inside the top 10, so a bit unfortunate he dropped that a little bit further down. He was 3 seconds away from Lewis Hamilton, 3 seconds away actually in the end from scoring some points, so not too shabby. He did lose out from where he qualified, which is a bit disappointing. Nico Hulkenberg, the only non-finisher of this Grand Prix. Max Verstappen has extended his championship lead to 30 points over Lando Norris. Oscar Piastri sits third. He's 50 points behind his teammate. Myself, P7. We're back ahead of Lewis Hamilton by 1 point, but we're trailing now Sergio Perez by 13 points, and our teammate Valtteri Bottas sits P17. He is 2 points behind Alex Albon. As now we take a look at the constructors. McLaren leads the way by 51 points to Red Bull, and Ferrari sit P3 there, 177 points behind, so there's quite a gap now forming. Sauber P6, we're 19 points behind Aston Martin, so hopefully we can try and chase them down, as now we've actually gained an accolade from that, so that was our 10th top 10 finisher, so off to a good start now going into our summer break. And for our driver ratings, our experience is up, racecraft has gone to level 85, awareness to level 82, pace, focus has gone up, and our overall level is 84, as our driver recognition has remained 50-50 with our teammate Valtteri Bottas. I don't think we're going to creep above the recognition to Valtteri, just considering his, expertise and his experience that he's got. And all of our specialists are gaining a bit of points there with us completing everything needing completing. And that is going to be all for this episode. If you did enjoy it, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode where we'll go through our season break and we'll take on the Dutch Grand Prix. I'll see you then. Goodbye.